four-part series. Last week we had Bill Clark do Steps to Inner Peace, but I began with The Wizard of Oz and Judy's trip over the rainbow. So we're going to continue on that theme for the next 3 weeks. So we are exploring the metaphysical, New Thought, or Science of Mind, teachings that are found in this classic movie. And by the way, I switched the movie up so that November 11th, the last talk in this series, the movie we're going to watch is The Wizard of Oz. So we'll all be able to really discuss it in depth because we'll know all the metaphysical meaning in The Wizard of Oz. So this is, I used this little, great little book that I found, Joey Green's book called The Zen of Oz. So 2 weeks ago in my talk, we looked at Dorothy's trip over the rainbow and how she had choice. So we explored the whole idea of choice with Dorothy. And today we will explore 2 of the 3 beloved characters in The Wizard of Oz, the Scarecrow and the Tin Man. Very profound, really, really very profound stuff. Okay, so in the tech context of science of mind, in the context of science of mind, there is a beginning of a sentence that really is really destructive to the fullness of living life. So it begins with the name of this talk, and it's, if I only had, if I only had. So how many times do we find ourselves saying, if I only had? If I only had a brain, if I only had a heart, if I only had, and you can fill in the blanks there. I think that we use it a lot, and I know I'm more cognizant now. That's why I love doing talks, because then I have to really practice them. And it really is helpful in life, especially because we're demonstrating. We're demonstrating, so words that come out of our mouth produce, remember that. And so a lot around us that we've gotten from early childhood sometimes tells us that we aren't enough. We aren't enough. We don't have enough. We don't have enough. Race consciousness, society, mass advertising, and even many religions teach us to focus on the absence of, the lack of, something that we really need. And so more importantly, even then what we need is what we are. Who do we believe that we really are? So we begin to think and feel, if I only had. If I only had this, I could be happy. If I only could just get to this place, I could be successful. So we have that if I only had thinking going on. That's what we're going to switch around a little bit today. We come to believe more in the power of circumstances than in the power of God at work in our lives. Whatever you think you still need in life is something you think has more power than God. So stop and think about that. I'm going to repeat that. Stop and think about this one sentence, because it's pretty profound when we put things back into context in our brains, in our thinking. Whatever you think you still need in life, you've already made it more powerful than the power of God. Because the power of God is always present and always has everything we could ever desire in our lives, right here, right now. It's what we think we need or what we're missing that brings us to a place of fear. That place of fear. Anyone ever been there? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Instead of focusing on the possibilities, there are always infinite possibilities that exist for all of us in every situation. Our focus like Dorothy's, turns to lions and tigers and bears, oh my. It turns to that place of fear, of lack, of limitation. So this morning, let's look at 2 great spiritual teachers, the Scarecrow and the Tin Man. They taught us, they did teach us, that we already have that which we think that we need. We already have that which we think that we need. So the Scarecrow. Scarecrow says, if I only had a brain, if I only had a brain, I'd know what to do. He thinks he doesn't know. But for someone who insists that he doesn't have a brain, the Scarecrow has given a lot of thought to what he would do if he had one. Right? He's always thinking about everything he's going to do if he only had a brain. If you recall, he sang, "I think of all the things I never thought before, and then I'd sit and think some more." And so he wants to have a brain. He wants to have a brain so that when he asks Dorothy if he can accompany her to the Emerald City to ask the wizard for brains, Dorothy replied to him, she wants him, "I have a mad witch. I have a witch that's really a bad witch that's really mad at me. And you might get into trouble." She's feeding into his beliefs. See? And so he says, "Witch? I'm not afraid of no witch," he insists. "I'm not afraid of anything except a lighted match. And then I'd get a whole box of them for the chance of, I'd give up a whole box of matches just for the chance of having a brain." He's ready to give up his life to have a brain that he already has. So as Dorothy and her companions then nervously follow the yellow brick road through a dark and creepy forest, remember that? You can't wait to see the movie then. The Scarecrow says, "Of course I don't know, but I think it'll get darker before it gets lighter." The Scarecrow is actually offering a really deep, keen, philosophical insight. It truly does seem darkest before the dawn, before the light, before the storm. And as the Tao Te Ching sums it up, the path into the light seems dark. It does. You ever go into something that it just feels dark and chaotic, and we've talked about this, and like breaking down, and it doesn't feel, but then, when it clears up, as long as you stay aligned, the most amazing light and insights take place. So the dark. How could a brainless Scarecrow then say something so insightful? Nature's intelligence flows freely and effortlessly when you are in harmony with it. When you are in harmony with this creative intelligence of the cosmos. Because the infinite law of God is brilliant. It is creative, but it is also intelligent. The law of God does not differentiate what comes into it and what it's going to give out. It just gives. That's the law of attraction, law of cause and effects. It just gives that which is put into it. So there is an intelligence that doesn't judge. Beautiful. You can harness the pure potential of the universe when you align with this intelligence, this brilliance, this light of God. And if you've ever been stuck on a pole in the middle of a cornfield with crows pecking at you, let it go. Let it go. Free your energy. Rechannel your energy. You have choice. Remember, that was our first. You have choice. Rechannel your energy to allow it to manifest itself into a more meaningful way of living. We can do this. We absolutely can do this. To acquire anything that you desire, release the "if I only had." Really catch yourself. Watch it. You know, God, if I only had this and I could do that. That's an attitude. So how do we do this? How do we do this? Everything that you wish will spontaneously flow from the universe to you. It is true. The universe, it is really true. The universe conspires for your good. Will bring every facet of everything that you desire into manifestation for your good, as long as you accept it and believe. Believe. The whole thing of the Wizard of Oz is that whole believing part. So believe. When the Scarecrow craves intelligence, which he assumes he doesn't have, it escapes him, right? Doesn't have it. Doesn't know what to do. But when he lets go of this preoccupation with obtaining a brain, a quick thinking program, he becomes this amazing problem solver. He just becomes this amazing problem solver. When Dorothy can't figure how to get him down from that pole that he's up on, he spontaneously proposes, if you just unhook that nail back there, I might slide down the pole and maybe I'll slip off. He knew it already. Or when, if you remember the talking apple trees, you'll see them again. When the talking apple trees refused to give their apples to Dorothy, the Scarecrow who was with her, he used reverse psychology. And he really got them angry, so they threw their apples at him. So he got the apples. He was thinking. With the doorman at Emerald City, Dorothy, she was asked to prove how she knew that the Good Witch of the North sent her there, because the doorman absolutely did not believe her. And the Scarecrow quickly pointed out, she's wearing the ruby slippers that the Good Witch gave her. She's sent by the Good Witch, and that allowed them to get into the Emerald City. So he was using that which he thought he didn't have for us to know. Instant after instant, that Scarecrow uses the innate intelligence that he doesn't think he has. The Scarecrow is an exquisite example to anyone who feels intellectually inadequate. You're smarter than you think you are. We are, each and every one of us, we are brilliant. We are so brilliant. I don't even think we can conceive of how brilliant we are. But just to know that we are more intelligent than we could ever imagine. And that's the truth. That's the truth. You have no need to impress others. I gave up on that a long time. You have to seek approval or to just be this big, intelligent, smart person. No need for that. Just let it be. Let it be. Lao Tzu, a 6th century BC philosopher, said, when you look for it, I like this, when you look for it, there is nothing to see. When you listen for it, there is nothing to hear. But when you use it, it's inexhaustible. And when we use the law that's always working, is God. God, the Word, the law. It's all God, and we all have that within us to use at any time. Ernest Holmes writes in the Science of Mind textbook, God is forever doing new things. And when we conceive new ideas, it is an act of the divine projecting itself into them. The Spirit did not have a lot of little flying machine models put away in a cosmic cupboard somewhere, but the mind that conceived the possibility of the flying machine is God. One mind? God's mind, my mind. The mind we use is the mind of the universe, he says. This is God in us. And it is only through this mind that we understand anything. And he continues, St. Paul said, you have the mind of Christ, which means that each one of us has immediate access to the intelligence of the universe. How many times a day, think about it, do we say or think, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. At the core of this message is a core belief that you're putting into the law of I don't know. And you know that you are manifesting, so you are manifesting that I don't know over and over again. In our lives, that's what we're doing. Instead, you might ask something different. What would you do if you did know? What would you do if you did know? We are standing in a vast sea of infinite wisdom. But we must believe it. How much of this do we really believe? And we believe it by practicing it over and over. So we might slip, so we forget, so we fall a little, we stumble, but we keep getting back up again, and we keep aligning ourselves with that great I am. Great I am. The rational mind wants to know it all. This is rational mind, ego mind, human mind. And when it doesn't know it all, it says, I don't know. This is what's saying, I don't know. The intuitive mind, that's your divine mind, is willing to say just what it does know. It's going to give you what it does know. Because we can all choose to be in the solution. Really, truly. Be in the solution. There's a solution to everything. Every problem comes in with a solution. So there's a solution to everything. You might get what looks like a challenge thrown right at you, and you stop for a minute and go, oh my God. Well, that's good because you're accessing the alignment, but that's thing. Wait a minute. That's what I do. I go, oh my God, and then, yes. How then? What? Lead me, guide me into, because there's always a solution. And it's so amazing. Time after time I have done this, and time after time it unfolds itself, it shows up, and it's perfect. The solution is perfect. Divine right order. Great illustration in a Herman comic. There's Herman and comic put together. Herman comic strip, one of those little strips. And it's these two mice that are looking at a piece of cheese that's on a mouse trap. And one has his hand poised over the cheese, ready to snap it right up. And the other one says, I don't know, I got a funny feeling about this. We say, it's a great illustration because we say, I don't know, right? I don't know about this, this trip or this whatever, this situation. I don't know. But that thing within us that's making us like step back and say, I don't know, that's our intuitive voice. That knows. That knows. Listen to it. Really, truly listen to it because it's giving you guidance, but we don't listen to it. We get our hands snapped in that mousetrap. So if something feels a little off, a little weird, a little funny, take notice. Just connect and take notice because that innate intelligence is operating absolutely through you. So what would happen in your life if you said, I know, instead of I don't know? Or if I did know, what would I do? So this week, just start the practice of hearing yourself. Just listen to yourself. Use that phrase. And the moment that you're using it, you have disconnected from the power and the presence of God. All the wisdom you need, all the answers you need, all the knowledge that you need, you already have inside of you. By knowing that, you know. All you have to do is know that the presence of God is within me. The divine wisdom of God is within me. I know this. You know, so you know. Ernest Holmes wrote this beautiful affirmation. I sent it out in the newsletter if you want to read it again. I love this affirmation. He writes, I know that today I walk in a full understanding of my oneness with God. God is at the center of my being. And from this center I receive inspiration, which governs my every thought and every act with certainty, love, and peace. I wrote that in the opening part. So now we move on to the other, I guess could be an avatar. The other avatar, the Tin Man. Now the Tin Man, what does he want? And what do most of us want more than anything else is to love and to be loved. Okay, like the Tin Man. Once again, the challenge that we have on our journey is thinking something is missing. There's something missing because I don't feel the love. There's something missing. But he, like the Scarecrow, showed us. Just like the Scarecrow, the Tin Man showed us that he really was filled with love. He really was. And throughout the movie, he shows it over and over again. Remember when the Wicked Witch, she's really scary, threatens to stuff a mattress with him and use the Tin Man as a beehive? Unless these two stayed away from Dorothy. She didn't want him near Dorothy. And stopped helping her. She threw a ball of fire at the straw man, at the Scarecrow. And who was it that saved the day? It was the Tin Man. Took off his and threw that down on the fireball to extinguish it. A pure act of selfless love. That was a pure act, instinctively, of selfless love. Loving kindness. It was the Tin Man who insisted that he will get Dorothy to the wizard, whether he got a heart or not. Whether he got a heart or not, he was going to get Dorothy there. True act of altruism. True act. No matter if he got what he wanted, he was going to make sure that Dorothy got there. It proved he already had this enormous heart within him. Without knowing it, the Tin Man touches nearly everyone he meets with his love, with his kindness. Important point here. He couldn't activate that innate love until he received a little unconditional love himself, which came in the form of, does anybody remember? Who said that? I had a prize to give them. An oil can, yes! Impressive. So if we are frozen, remember he gets frozen. If we're frozen in fear, and sometimes we do get frozen in fear, we need to have the love pump primer set up a bit by receiving some unconditional love, by receiving unconditional love. Unconditional, so that the flow that is already there can be activated within us. Love is a life force. Love is a life force that must continue circulating to keep the energy coming back to you. That love circulation. You must keep love in perpetual motion. Unconditional love. It's vitally important to remember, however, that you make certain that your intention behind your giving is selfless. You cannot have an ulterior motive. And you love unconditionally. You cannot be taking or trying to manipulate someone, because that's not unconditional love. That is condition-based love, and that I think we've all had way too much of in our lives. I'll love you if, I'll love you if, always conditions. Unconditional love is giving without condition. So there's a direct correlation between the depth and the sincerity of the love that you have for others. There's a correlation. As you give, so you receive. And what you get in return, Jesus said, sometimes you sow in one field and reap in another. Yes. When we love our enemies, we don't always get love back in return. However, the universe is responding to our loving. That's what the universe is responding to. In direct proportion that we love, we receive it back. That's how it works. No one loves the Wicked Witch. No one loves the Wicked Witch of the West because she doesn't have a smidgen of love in her for anyone. And her motives are totally selfish and egocentric. The Wizard of Oz only loves because he can stay in power. His love is conditional and insincere. And he is loved as long as he protects the Emerald City from the Wicked Witch. So there's an ulterior motive there. Throughout the story, it is the Tin Man. The Tin Man, the one who didn't think that he had a heart, who loves unconditionally. Pretty amazing when you take that movie apart. The Tin Man shows us that if you want to be blessed with a heart, you must give from your heart. If you want to be blessed with a heart, you must give. Remember, heart isn't just an organ in the body. It's that state of being. It's that beautiful intelligence of love where the divine resides. Love in the heart. How much you are loved by others is equal to how deeply you love. How deeply you love unconditionally. If you want to be blessed with love, you must give with your heart. Give and you shall receive. When you give from your heart emphatically, unconditionally, and constantly, and without accepting, that's the big one, without accepting anything in return, you receive happiness in abundance. It's really letting go and letting God with the love. It really is. Giving the love and just giving it purely for giving it. That's what blesses and enriches us, truly does. The Tin Man is expressing his perennial wisdom. It is in the giving that we receive. That's how we receive. When you put the goodness within you to work for another, when you decide to love for love's sake only, just for love's sake, no reason, but not because the other is doing something that might be worthy of your love. When you learn to give of yourself without expecting the other to act in a certain way, then the universe pours out its grace and its blessings upon you. It's the way it works. It's unfailing. It always works that way. Ernest Holmes writes, in our concept of love and our belief in its beneficent presence is greater than our fear of the opposite, then we shall win. So if our concept of love and our belief in its beneficent presence is greater than our fear in the opposite, then we shall win. We shall win. Where are you stuck in your life? There might be a place you might feel stuck, frozen in the yard like the Tin Man. Rather than wishing for or expecting things or people to be different, which sometimes we do, we're going, they're a little bit different, then this would all work out. It doesn't work that way. Simply look around and see and ask yourself, how can I love better? How can I love better? How can I love better? It's a little different from what we've been programmed actually to grow up with. In my last talk, I quoted Michael Myriad from his book, The 7 Initiations of the Spiritual Path. And I'd like to reiterate that again because it goes so perfectly here when he writes about the heart. The gifts of awakening the heart center are beyond measure. As Charles Dickens wrote, a loving heart is the truest wisdom. The opening of the heart center is synonymous with the quickening of the soul. It is not something that can be faked or contrived, nor is it fleeting or temporary. And the love of an opened heart center is real, authentic, and powerful. And Ernest Holmes, the most valuable thing anyone can do is to be a little more certain each day that he is meeting life with the greatest sense of love. Divine intelligence and infinite love. Divine intelligence and infinite love. That's what the Scarecrow and the Tin Man represent to us this morning. That's what they represent to us. Two eternal qualities that already exist within us that we are now realizing and opening up to. They have to be recognized and accessed and allowed to express. And as this happens, all things are possible. That's when all things are possible. Now I have a poem to close by, and it's perfect because I didn't know Nandi was going to do her I Am poem, which I love. This one is also an I Am kind of poem. Yay. And it might not sound like Nandi, but that's okay. A poem is by Russ Kuhn. And it says, here I am, saying I am that I am. Therefore, I begin to realize I am centered in love. I am surrounded by beauty. I am filled with joy. I am tapping the infinite intelligence. I am the unceasing energy that is atomic power. I am the wisdom of the universe, and therefore I am of God. The key, however, when will I fully accept the great I am? So I say, how about today, my friends? How about today to start to accept and to embrace and embody our innate intelligence and our loving kindness that truly is the truth of who we are. So we take our lessons from the Tin Men and the Scarecrow. We take our lessons from them, and realizing that you already have it all within you. You already have it all. Are you ready to accept it here and now? Yeah. And so.
So it is.